Mr. Lucio, thank you very much for joining us at the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy and this very beautiful conference. We are really grateful, and we have heard your speech, and we think that it's really interesting, and it is also a fruitful one. We have some cultural issues and some subject topics that we would like to discuss with you, and we would be very grateful to hear your opinion regarding this issue.
According to you, is cultural diplomacy an effective way to promote mutual understanding?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. And my answer is yes. It's very important that cultural diplomacy is a very good word. It's a very good couple of words, because diplomacy, ordinary diplomacy, is very important, of course, but doesn't involve the people and doesn't involve what the people think and how they think. So there cannot be nowadays conflict among nations if the conflict is not felt by the people. So if the dialogue is only among diplomats and among politicians, which is important, is not enough to involve the people. I see cultural as referring to what the people think and the way people think. So it is very important to understand each other the way they think, not only the way they do politics or they make wars or peace, we hope. It is important to understand what they feel, what they think, why, what are their roots, cultural, religious. That is the best way to build peace and prosperity among people.
Mr. Lucio, we are keep using the word cultural diplomacy. What does cultural diplomacy mean for you? How do you think that cultural diplomacy is related and can be combined in the same time in the political field?
I think it goes very well together with the political relations. It means not only to see people from outside, but to see inside, to understand, to go in deep in what they think. It is not just reading about them or even visiting the country. But if you visit the country, but you don't understand the way of living, the way of thinking, the way of the concept that every people and the people among one nation understand the life, society, international relationship, you won't really understand what your neighbors or people far from you understand.
And do you see cultural diplomacy combined with religion, for instance?
I think that is very important, as long as, and in all the cases, and there are many, that religion is a very important part of the way of thinking of the people. And even when people are not believers or not directly involved in religion, the roots, the cultural roots of their country that usually have something to do, always has something to do with religion, still matter, even with people who don't believe. I'm a believer, deeply a believer, and so I think that there is also a duty as a believer to do that, to have a dialogue about it.
So cultural diplomacy might be also used for promoting world peace?
Certainly, yes, definitely. I imagine only 300 years ago my ancestors were persecuted by other Christians. I belong to a minority, a religious minority, Waldensians, and they were persecuted by other Christians. Today we would never dream even of making any kind of distinction. I mean, of course, on the point of doctrinal we have distinction, but we are absolutely open to each other. We wouldn't even could conceive any kind of real conflict with our Catholic friends or neighbors and so on. 300 years ago it was definitely life.
And what do you think about politics and religion? How do they influence each other?
They do influence each other. Very often there have been religious conflict, religion wars. Even today there's somebody speaking about holy wars. So it is very important to influence. Politics has influenced religion too, and religion has its influence politics. So it is very important that, say, something like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it is a political deed, can influence the way people live religions. So if the and of course the messages of peace that usually and mostly, not always, come from religion can and do influence and did influence the political life, even in the international relationships.
Mr. Senator, I have one more question. What did determine you to become a politician? Perhaps the cultural influence? Did you ever believe that being a politician might offer you to interact and deal with lots of cultures and people around the world? And
there are people who enter politics after having had an experience of other kinds and never thought about entering politics for many years. For myself, it is the opposite. I was very young and I was not in a family of politicians, not at all. My father was offered to run for me a member of the community council, but he refused. He felt almost offended by that offer. So we were absolutely far from that. I felt some kind of a call to be involved in the social life, to try to make things better. And it is of course very difficult because there are different ways of making things better, there are different opinions. So there is conflict, but as long as you work for make your nation and the world, your little tiny part better, I think it is politics are a very good thing and anyway involve all of us. So we cannot think that we are out of politics. We are within politics, even if you say as a form of protest or reject, we don't vote. Not voting is a political choice, is to give others the choice.
Did you come across about a difficult situation during your political
you mean
activity? I mean, dealing with cultures. Did you come across about, I don't know, a problem which put you into somehow a difficulty to deal with people? Because we mainly hear that the most hardest problem in this world is dealing with people. Because this is true, we cannot understand sometimes each other because of these different cultural backgrounds. So did you came across?
It is very important to always bring your own convictions, but also to understand others' positions.
To listen.
And I've been a few times, but I felt it very strongly, that there was a conflict within the position of my party that almost always I deeply share. But on some issues I felt that my personal convictions, due also to my religious and spiritual background, were in contrast with one to the other. So I had to make a choice, and I made the choice according to my consent, to my belief, to my convictions, and I was accepted because people understood that it was really a deep feeling. It was not just a fuss. It was something important, and people, among decent people, those who have deep convictions are respected, even if they have even they have a different opinion. If you show that you have no convictions or very weak convictions, of course people won't respect your own, because if you don't respect your ideas, the other people won't either.
Okay. What would be your advice for the future young generation, for the students? How could they make this world a better place to live in?
Well, it is something that goes to the deeds, to the little thing of everyday's life. It does make a change. The attitude, one to each other, people that you will never meet again, it does make a difference, because they say that a good behavior is contagious. It's a contagion. And of course also the opposite. And I feel that political engagement is an important way, of course not the only one, but in today's world we cannot think as if politics didn't exist. You can very well stay out of politics, but you will it is important the influence. Say opinions are spread and then they are used by other people, sometimes in good faith and sometimes in bad faith, in order to bring about some goals. So everything holds together. It is very important to have an approach, a global approach to society. Your personal, religious, behavioral, political convictions have an influence, even if you are not a politician. If you think that you are just one citizen.
Very true, very true. Thank you very, very much for your
All
time.
the best for your studies and for your activity.
Thank you.
It's an honor and privilege for us to have you here
It
today.
was indeed a great pleasure.
My pleasure and my privilege.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.